Here's a great Christmas question for you. Which is better, real or fake trees? Or if you would like, artificial or natural? You know, the artificial Christmas tree business is over $1 billion, and its sales are catching up with real Christmas trees. Now, if you were to buy a real Christmas tree, how much you're going to pay for it depends on the size and the species. They usually charge by the foot. But if you buy an artificial tree, you're going to pay anywhere from $40, mid $40 range, up to around $300. Again, it depends on how real it looks and what species it's trying to mimic. But for me, money is not the major concern. It is today because I don't have enough to buy a tree. But anyway, moving on. But especially, I'm not too concerned about it because Christmas only comes once a year. So let's take a look at the two options and the pros and cons. First of all, let's take a look at natural trees. Each year, an acre of Christmas trees will produce about 1,000 pounds of oxygen. That's enough for 18 people for the whole day. You're not getting that from an artificial tree. They also sequester carbon as they grow. Now, how much they sequester really depends on many factors, which we don't have time to talk about now. But it's fair to say on a per acre basis, it's about a ton, or a little less than a ton. Now, the other thing you have to realize is when you cut that tree down, and it starts to decompose and they chop it up and use it for mulch, it does release that carbon again into the atmosphere. Another thing I like about freshly cut trees is their aroma. And many times it makes me remember some of the past Christmases gone by. I consider that a good thing. Now, if you buy a living tree, which is one in a pot, if you care for it properly, you will be able to plant that out into the landscape. If you don't take care of it properly, it's not likely to survive. A fresh cut tree can last up to 4 weeks if it's properly cared for. And once the holidays are over, it can be recycled or used for other things. And I do have a video on my channel that will tell you what you can do to recycle your Christmas tree. And of course, they're grown right here in the USA. Yay! And the Christmas tree industry accounts for about 100,000 part-time and full-time jobs. So that's a reason to buy a natural tree. Now, there are some negatives, and the negatives would be you have a reoccurring cost every year, depending on what size tree you're going to get. You also have to water them daily. They have to be cared for in that sense, otherwise they can dry out and become a fire hazard. Whenever you bring a fresh plant into the house, you're likely to bring in some mold spores or fungi, and occasionally you might have an insect or a spider come out and walk around in the house. That's not a big issue with me. You're not likely to have lots and lots of insects. Some people do have allergies to the mold, and that might be something they may want to take into consideration. Let's look at some of the pros and cons of artificial trees. First of all, when you have an artificial tree, you can reuse it for many years, until you get tired of it. It'll save you money in the long run, but depending on how much you pay for it will determine how long it takes for you to get your costs back out of it. They're easy to put together and dismantle, but you do have to have a place to store it. And of course, the idea of watering it and vacuuming up needles is not required because I guess over time, as it starts to fall apart, you might have something to clean up. And most of them, but not all, are designed to be fire retardant. And artificial trees can look quite attractive. They're getting better and better. But as you get closer to the look of the real tree, you're going to start to pay some serious money. They don't trigger allergies. There's no sticky sap to be bothered with, and you don't have to worry about, as I said before, cleaning up needles. As I said before, most of them are fire retardant, but there may be some that aren't, so you need to check the container before you buy it. Now, the primary raw material that's used to make artificial trees is PVC, which is polyvinyl chloride, and it comes from China. And I don't know if you know this or not, but the Chinese don't have the same environmental laws that we do here. So some of those chemicals can be harmful to people in the environment, but they are harming the Chinese people and the Chinese environment. But if you care about the environment, you should care about the Chinese also. So it is something you want to take into consideration. It is not biodegradable. It is not recyclable. You can only get somebody else if it's still useful. And one of the things that happens when you're finished with it is it's thrown into the garbage. It goes into a landfill where it's going to be for thousands of years. So there you have it. Those are the two things that you have to make the choice about. And you'll have to decide what's best for you. But as for me and my house, we're going to keep it real. Whenever you bring a fresh Yeah. Now, unless you win the Publishers Clearinghouse Super Prize, then Christmas comes again and again and again. And of course, they're grown right here in the USA. Yeah. And the best thing is they're grown right here in the USA. Cover my face again. No, not that it's anything to really look at. Another thing I like about, okay, try again.